All right, it is Friday, December 11th. We're going to get the final hunting camping report from John Riggins, Centralia. He's going to be eastbound and down, little Kenny Powers. It is time for the John Riggins Show. Here's Riggo.
All right. Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Outstanding. I am. I'm about to make it better for Dexter Manley so he can actually see you better.
Right.
Dex, how you doing this morning?
Better than good, better than most.
You ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll. Got lots of questions
okay,
about
guys.
this hunting trip.
Yeah,
Well, let's let. I want
Dex,
John.
first
I
of
want
all-
John's unadulterated. I want his opening monologue.
Okay.
And then I want you to grill him and see if we got those tears shed yet.
Okay.
Okay, let's just do that. Well, guys, today is actually VFC Day out here in Kansas, and you're probably wondering what's VFC Day? It's Victory for Chongo. I'm afraid the big guy has come up short again. But let me say this. As I was driving in today to my brother Bill's house where we grew up, I was cruising along the Baileyville Road, probably a little bit faster than I should have been. I was probably going, it's a rock road, so you got to appreciate that. I was probably going 70 miles an hour or so, which is pretty well boogieing on a rock road around here. And I had this epiphany, which I thought was, I think there's a movie here, guys. There's a novel and a movie. And this is what it is. I come out here, I camp out for 9 nights. I haven't been inside, as you can tell, unless the way I see myself on the computer here. My complexion is particularly ruddy, wouldn't you say? I'm very.
That's a good description.
I would say so.
Yeah. Yeah,
How about a
exactly.
shower?
So I've been. Yeah, I haven't been in Cabo for the past night. I don't think I'm giving that impression. Maybe I could have been, but anyway, I'm driving in here. I've been camped out for 9 days. I don't know how many hours I put in, waiting and watching for Chongo, but in 8 days, you can figure it's quite a few. Anyway, I'm driving in here. This epiphany, it comes to me that I'm thinking, boy, wouldn't this be ironic? As I'm speeding along, I run over Chongo. I kill Chongo with the truck. Is that the perfect ending? That's a Quentin Tarantino movie right there, the way it ends. Because I get no victory out of it because it was an accident. And Chongo, as wily as he was at avoiding me, he ends up looking like a boob. It's perfect, guys.
You just gave away a great. It might only be one episode. It might be a short film, but that would be a great story.
Yeah.
You're out there. You've invested time, energy, money, this commitment, and in destiny that you actually hunted him down with a vehicle.
Exactly. That's the old one where you say you can't make it up. And another thing here, guys, I've discovered at least 3 things. The 3 I can think of right now. I was in therapy for my neck, and it helped for about 6 weeks before I came out here. I've been sleeping on the ground. I have a mat underneath me, a little air mattress, but, sleeping on the ground, like I said, 9 straight nights. And my neck, I'm getting therapy every night that I sleep. I find that I've got more range of motion in my neck. So that's been from my physical being, it's been a very positive experience. The other part of this is, and now don't laugh, Dexter, because you was concerned about it on the way out here. But my bowel movements have never been better. It's honest to God truth. I've always on borderline on being constipated. I come out here and it's easy peasy. Go figure that one. And then probably the best thing I've learned out here is that washing dishes is overrated. I haven't washed a dish since I did last night because I came into town and made dinner here in town. It was the first time for my brother and I. We had some butter beans and rice. Same thing I had here not so long ago. But actually, it was the first time I've actually had warm water run over my hands in almost 10 days. So yeah, those are 3 things I've discovered when I've been out here. But I have to say, Dex, I worked hard. I gave myself an emotional preparation, but I could not squeeze any tears out. And the other night when I was doing it, I went to bed and I'm lying there. This is 2 nights ago. And I swear to God, I hear, because you can hear, I'm out here in the country. It's like silence you can almost hear. It's so quiet. So I hear this car. And, I know, and this car, bah, 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 and it, it's going by, and it sounds like it's on the road. It's about a half a mile from where I was sleeping, the road that runs along my property. And so I'm lying there, and I'm thinking, nobody travels this road at night. What in the hell is somebody doing out here? So my mind starts conjuring up this scene, and here's what it is: that a bunch of people around here that don't wish me well, whoever they are, because you used to, back growing up around here, there's always like, there's a little bit of jealousy because you stood out a little bit too, and figuring that, finally the rumors gotten out that I'm back deer hunting. And so some of the boys are, at the local saloon getting drunk. It's
they
almost
got
like
old school posse. They got an old school posse looking to settle some scores. Different Tarantino movie.
Exactly. And so, they know where they know where my farm is. They've known for 50 years. I've had it for almost that long. So I'm in my tent and I'm starting to get paranoid because I swear that the car is going bah, 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 and then it starts slowing down. And now your mind really starts working on you out here because now it's starting to sound like a car on a low idle, slowly getting closer and closer. I'm in my tent and I realize I left the weapon in the car. Uh-oh. And I'm like, what the hell? So at that point, I finally said, okay, let it go. It's like the coyotes that are starting to turn into, zombies out there. I just said, breathe, focus on your breathing. And I did, and it all went away. So, Dex, you asked me, and that's when the night that I was trying to go for tears, but I just couldn't get them. So I'm sorry, Dex, it ain't going to happen.
Well, that's fascinating because I can only imagine. Think about this, Dexter.
Yeah, yes.
How barren it is, and like you say, John, no humans around. How eerily silent.
Oh, that's
how eerily silent it must be. And then when you start hearing stuff like that, now we all think about flashbacks and movie memories. So it depends if you're thinking about Tarantino or Spielberg. If you go Spielberg, it's going to be a happy ending. Maybe E.T. coming right down on a bike. If it's Tarantino, some bad stuff's about to go down.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. It was the Tarantino movie that I was thinking of Easy Rider. And Jack Nicholson, when the thugs come in and they just rough up, they actually end up beating him to death, and I'm thinking, I'm going, now this ain't, and the other part of it is you got to appreciate this. I don't think there's anything more daunting actually than being in a tent and thinking that danger lurks about your camp. That is because you're all closed in, you can't see anything. Now, as you like to say, what you used to say, Todd, that that radio is theater of the imagination, or
theater of the mind.
Term? Theater of the mind. That's when you get inside of a tent and you're all closed in like that, and you talk about easy prey. I mean, like you said, Dex, you're always worried about the bears. Well, basically, when you get into a tent, you're like a biscuit for the bears. You're just all there, ready to go. Not a lot of work to be done there. So, I had that one moment the other night, but it's the first time it happened. So I'm very pleased, though. It was really a great trip. Probably the thing that makes it, I want to say the thing that actually made it that way was the weather. And it was, for the good and for the bad, because I hardly saw, and years ago I did that show, Riggo on the Range, and that was like in 2012 and 2013. And every time I came out here, I mean, there was deer out the wazoo. It was like trains going through a station every, 40 minutes to an hour. You were seeing game, and this time around, there's been hardly any. And part of it, I think, is because the weather. Like yesterday, it got up to I think 65 or something like that. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Wow.
And that makes it difficult. If you want to, if you get an animal down in that kind of heat, you're got the meat. You got to worry about that. So. My guess is, and we had a full moon when I got here. I think I told you that. Now it's a waning moon, and I think I don't know, it's like a quarter or something like that. So at the beginning in the warm weather, I figured the deer were very active at night and they laid up during the day, and that's why I didn't really see any. In the very beginning, I saw some does, probably about a half a dozen does, and I saw one buck on opening day. Well, two. One was on another person's property, and you'll always look back at that and you go, I guess I should have taken, but it wasn't Chongo, So you fight that back and forth, and then you got to tell yourself, no, I came for Chongo. It's really kind of one of those deals now where as I've told you, I think Chongo exists in my mind, that he really doesn't. I don't know. Now I'm starting to wonder if I'll know Chongo when I see him. I'll go, nah. It's like, it's when I did that spot and Kenny Jenkins' mom said, you're not Riggo. You're not big enough.
Yeah,
when I see Chongo for O'Connor Plumbing, I did a little spot there, Riggo Undercover, or the Undercover Plumber. And and so I went over and, Kenny Jenkins' mother, who used to play for the team, she looked at me when I finally told her who I was because, she just didn't recognize me. She just insisted, no, you're not John Riggins. And so I'm thinking, when I see Chongo, I want to go, you're not Chongo. Right. You're not big enough. Wait, you lost weight? So I don't know. I've got 12 months to think about this.
All right, as Dexter likes to do, we got to recognize the Secretary of Defense from the great state of Texas. He's got questions, John.
I got questions. John, first of all,
right, Dex.
Who is Chongo?
Chongo,
is this an animal or what?
Yeah, I guess we would say right now at this point, Dexter, it's a figment of my imagination.
It's a myth.
In reality, for me, I've created Chongo is this huge deer with this great big rack on it, like a trophy animal that, in all honesty, let me tell you a little bit about the deer hunting industry. In all honesty, if you shot the world record white-tailed deer, typical, I think more so than what they call a non-typical, which is where the antlers grow every which way. I have no idea what that would be worth to a sporting goods company that sells, that caters to that, because a lot of them will have stuffed animals and stuff like that, but it would be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So there is a deer called Chongo, and there has been. In other words, it isn't just one particular deer, but the world-class type of a rack would be a deer that you would consider the title of Chongo. The other part of this is, in your own state, Dexter, they breed white-tailed deer down there, and they have the male deer that they use for, as the herd buck, that deer, they'll cut his antlers so poachers don't take him out, but it's all about DNA, and then that DNA is sold, or they'll bring does in, and that goes to ranches there, hoping to create a new Chongo, and that buck that is the herd buck, he is worth about $500,000 on the open. I think it could even be more than that. But that's give you an idea of this little thing called deer hunting.
So,
Dexter, it's a huge industry.
Another way to look at a Chongo.
Okay.
When you were on the field playing defense, you were Chongo. You were the baddest dude on the field.
Yeah,
Riggo was Chongo on the offensive side of the ball. It's the baddest of the bad.
The baddest of the bad. My next question, will you do this trip again?
That's a good, right now I don't know the answer to that. But I'm thinking, I always go home, and my wife and my daughter, they laugh at me because I go, well, that's the last time I'm doing that. I ain't going back out there. And this is weird, because I had such a great time. There was really no obligations other than, to come in and do the podcast, that it was very pleasant. And once again, that probably has a lot to do with the weather. But at the same time, let's say I would have gotten bad weather. Well, you know what? That's a story to tell years from now, where you was out there and you caught an early snowstorm like happened years ago on Riggo and the Range in Wyoming, where you got a blizzard rolls into town. And in some ways, then that actually, it heightens the hunt and the experience because of the adversity that you have to persevere through. And in some ways, Dex, you can liken it to a football game. In the sense of the feeling, and I guess you do it for some kind of a feeling of accomplishment. If you were to go out there and persevere through an early season blizzard, and you hung in there and you hunted, and the next thing you know, you actually end up bagging Chongo. And you know what? Your chest gets pretty puffed up. I had that happen actually, and I'll explain it real quickly. When I was doing Riggo on the range, I was hunting with Clint Didier out in the southeast corner of Washington State, where he's
I
not very.
saw that. I
Clint
saw
grew
that.
up out there. Yeah, okay. So you remember that the first hunting trip, we were out there and we only had a tag for what is called a spike bull, which is a year old bull that only has basically one point on each side, one antler. There doesn't branch off or anything, to explain it the best I can. We hunted for 3 or 4 days and we were down to, our last out basically, and there was nobody on base, and we were behind a couple of, like a run or so. Anyway, at the end of the last day we were hunting, and we'd seen elk, and I'd had a shot at one, but I couldn't tell for sure if it was a legal animal, so I passed on it. So we're down at the end of the last day. The cameraman and I were walking back to the truck, and we're all dejected, but I'm kind of keeping my head up and I'm staying alert,
Yes.
for whatever reason, probably just accident. And lo and behold, I get a shot of about 170 yards from this. There were 2 of them that crossed our path, and I got one. Let me tell you something. When we got that elk, not only was it the first elk I ever shot, but it was more so basically not unlike scoring that touchdown in the Super Bowl. From what looked like was going to be sure defeat, we had, saved the day with a last-second shot, a Hail Mary, basically, if you will. And I can't tell you that the adrenaline that it gave you and the buzz that it gave you naturally, it was, I can't describe it really. And so I guess to answer your question, long-winded, yeah, I'm thinking I'll probably make it out here. The only thing that vexes me on that is the 18-hour drive. That gets I'm not exactly looking forward to that, but I am looking forward to going home. And I thought when I get home, I'm very fortunate that I happen to have in my shower, I have a steam app, where you can turn it on and you can take a steam. So what I'm going to do when I get home, I'm going to go right upstairs. I'm going to turn the steam on, and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch, because I haven't bathed in almost 2 weeks now.
Wow.
I brushed my teeth and flossed my teeth, but I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch all the Kansas silt and dirt, and it'll be a trail running right down into the gutter. I mean, I probably will be able to plant a small crop of corn in that if I don't wash it out of the shower. So that's that's what I'm projecting to do right now.
Okay.
I'm a little concerned about your transition back into civilization, for one, because he's been pooping outdoors, sleeping. So it's been therapeutic and healing, on probably mentally as well, getting his mind right, communicating with nature, doing his thing. But I got a feeling Lisa Marie and Coco and Hannah may have said, well, he might be out in the front yard a little bit before we do the steam.
Yeah.
Exactly. I may have to step it down kind of. In other words, tonight or tomorrow night when I get home, I might have to sleep outside, just to kind of, like you said, slowly ease back in.
I think your own halfway house, John. You're going to get halfway into your house.
Hey, John, you haven't
So I
taken
should go to some camp where they got a tent, like a tent
Hey, you
camp
got
where I
those
can
trees in your front yard you planted. You got plenty of space. Ease back into it there.
Hey, you
Yeah,
haven't.
you got a point.
Okay, now you also said that 4th and 1, that was a lot of admiration for you. So how would you rate this trip? Are you bringing back the Riggo family, the Todd Castleberry, the Dexter? Are you bringing back deer meat, or this just coming back with no meat?
Yeah, you might say I'm bringing back dead meat. That would be me. I got nothing, Dex.
It could be venison, but it could be store-bought. That's what I'm guessing.
Well, it's like, you know what? You got to maintain your little bit of pride here. Like I said, if I would have plunked something beneath a Chongo level, Chongo would be laughing at me right now, and he knows that that's the most important thing here. I have to send a message to Chongo that I will be back and that he is not safe. So that's the bottom line there. We'll just have to go over to McLean at the grocery store. McLean, I think they've got venison over there. Of course, that's pen-raised venison, but we can still get some.
I take that.
All right, so Riggo, you're going to be heading east, be back in town. Washington football team heading west, Dexter. way west.
Yeah.
As they take on the San Francisco 49ers this Sunday, 4:25, and they are playing in Glendale, Arizona. As discussed, San Francisco, they're not allowed to play in their home stadium for at least 3 weeks. So the Arizona Cardinals said, hey, we'll let you use our stadium. And as just in a continually bizarre 2020 for all of us and the NFL. So you got 5-7 Washington football team on a 3-game winning streak at the San Francisco 49ers. We talked about how dinged up San Francisco has been, especially, I mean, they're major stars and players that have been on IR. At the last count, it was 17, with 17 on IR that are out for the year. They played a tough football game this past Monday night, John. I know you didn't tune in for that one on Riggo on the Range.
No.
They lost to the Buffalo Bills. I believe it was 34-24. And good competitive ball game. Nick Mullins led quarterback for San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan in his 4th season. They too are still battling for that second wild card spot at 5-7. So I think for the Washington football team, as much praise that they deserved and has been heaped upon them with what they accomplished against the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is another opportunity to come out hitting on all cylinders and show us what you got.
Well, they also have quite a few players with COVID. That's a great opportunity to take advantage of that.
100%. Your thoughts, Riggo?
Well, you said everything, Todd, that I was going to say. And the irony is Garoppolo, is he out for the season as well?
Out for the season.
He is out for the season.
I think
Okay,
there was a slight
IR.
chance that they were talking about some of the guys that are on the IR that might be able, if there was any, light at the end of the tunnel, a chance of making the playoffs toward the ends, but they're not counting on him.
Well, we talked about this way back earlier in the season, and I find myself in a very ironic place, and I haven't been in a long, long time. And I have no explanation for it. Is that there's something to look forward to in this game, that because Washington, realistically, if they're moving in the right direction and they're putting the pieces together, they have a real opportunity here, because football is about winning in late November and December, and if they come together now, who's to say what can happen because of COVID? And we talked about that, like I said in earlier broadcast, about how you're going to catch some of these teams, you get to the playoffs, same thing could happen. You never know, so you kind of got to leave your mind open on this deal. But I'm really looking forward to the game on over the what do you say? It's on Monday night? No, it's Sunday.
Sunday,
yeah.
Sunday 4:25, national game.
But you know what? I would say, interestingly enough, there's a lot of pressure on Washington all of a sudden. By beating Pittsburgh,
right?
Everybody's looking at you going, oh, okay, so you guys think you got something going here. Well, let's see what you got. Now you've got people's attention. And and now you have to prove that you're good for it. And so I'm thinking to myself, because here they're going out to Arizona. They're playing a team that isn't even in their own stadium or whatever. Not that matters, but it's not a home game for anybody, and realistically. But if you can't beat the 49ers with their backup quarterback, a guy who's had a spotty career, I mean, what little bit that he's played,
right?
I'm thinking to myself, then that great victory in Pittsburgh goes down the drain, just like the dirt that's going to come off of me in about 48 hours. I'm serious. I mean, all of a sudden, you're in a great place here. You're riding high. You're kind of, you're the cock of the walk right now. You got it going on. If you go out there and lose this game, it's like, well, why? You almost get angry. A fan will get angry, like, here, I thought that you had something going on. It's right here in front of you, and you go and you blow it. How'd you do that? So, I mean, that's kind of the way that I'm looking at this game, that, the defense has got to go out and keep doing what it's doing. And I think San Francisco, as banged up as they are, they're still a team to be reckoned with. I don't think you can take them for granted. So, I mean, they got to come out of there with a win, or unfortunately, it's all for naught. I mean, you got to keep playing one after the other. But to me, then all of a sudden, all this great work that would appear that Ron Rivera has persevered through with this cancer and all the early season losses and the quarterback, not controversy really, but the benching of number 7, the injury to
The quarterback chaos.
Kyle Allen. Yeah, and now you have somebody who, really realistically, I would have said would, and still kind of feel that way, but now it's turned into the greatest story in the NFL is Alex Smith,
Right.
resurrection, and not only overcoming the broken leg. Then last week he gets, obviously cuts an artery, I would say, and he's got blood that's pumping out of his leg. He plays through that. I mean, I got to hand it to him. I got to take my hat off. I personally, from my perspective, I'm thinking John Riggins wouldn't be doing that, but hey, we're allowed to have our differences. But the fact that he is, I mean, you got to take your hat off. I mean, on the one hand, I kind of go stupid, but on the other hand, if you're going to go, hey, you really buy into it and you're a tough guy, then I go, hey, I'm yes sir, no sir. I mean, it's quite an accomplishment what he's pulled off.
John, Dexter and I can attest to this. You've been out of civilization. And listen, I know for all of us here that when this football team is relevant at this time of the year, that's great for everybody.
Yes.
And we're all hopeful, and we've been dealing, you guys in particular are grounded in reality as superstars that played the game, and the fans have been so disappointed for so long. But I can tell you, for the chaos, the calamity, the pandemonium, and everything that existed just a couple of weeks ago.
Correct.
And they have won 3. But now, after this Pittsburgh game, it's gone the other way with everybody back to being the smartest guy in the room, and the culture's changed, and oh, we're so good and wonderful, and the organization's tweeting out stuff, talking trash to the Steelers, and then I'm sitting back going back, wow, it's really changed. So these guys, they really haven't been there before, okay? You're not trying to steal anybody's thunder or whatever, but it's amazing what transpired in 48 hours since that Pittsburgh ball game.
Yeah.
And if they come out here and lay an egg, it's exactly what you're saying. It is all for naught.
But they won't lay an egg because they feel the momentum, and I just think they are progressing in the right direction, Todd.
Listen, if they do what you believe and John believes, we all believe they should do to a beat-up San Francisco 49er team.
Correct.
That'll give them a 4-game winning streak, okay? They're on a 3-game winning streak. Hasn't happened since 2018. Looking outside to make the playoffs, which haven't happened since 2015, then, yes, then we stand and continue the applause. And, all right, it's starting to feel pretty good, kind of smelling right, which you guys have always talked about. They have not captured it up until these last couple of games, and it's great to see. But I'm a little fascinated and keep an eye on the over exuberance, if you will, in a very short period of time.
Todd, you have all the statistics. You know what's going on with the Burgundy and Gold. Did they stay out there or did they come back?
Who? San Francisco?
No, the Burgundy and Gold.
They're back here.
Oh.
They're back here
Okay,
in Washington.
yeah.
They're back here in Washington.
Yeah.
And practice has been limited. Antonio Gibson has turf toe. He is not expected to play. They actually signed a running back yesterday. Here's the other factor you got. So Kyle Shanahan and no love lost, and that was the big hype for the game
Right.
last year in that rainy debacle. So here you got Trent Williams and Jordan Reed. And Trent, what do you think Trent's thinking about this little game on Sunday? Or Trent Williams?
Yeah. Now, have they picked the All-Pro teams yet?
Nah.
Okay.
No,
It's
still
week
a few
11.
weeks away.
Week 11. Okay. Well, from what I'm reading, Trent Williams playing excellent football.
He always plays excellent football based on that, but they're 5-7, incredibly beat up. They did play Buffalo, which is one of the best teams in the league. They played them very tough on Monday Night Football. So, like I say, it's opportunity time. Show us what you got. Let's see how real this is. It's what do you think the line is, John?
Boy, that's probably going to be close. You know what? I think still, I'm wondering if the odds makers are buying into Washington, and they're going to be, like it'll be San Francisco -2.
Very good, -3. -3.
San Francisco -3.
San Francisco -3. And, again, taking into account their backups are playing tough. Like we talked about the New York Giants early in the year, and I told you they were the best 1-5, 1-6, whatever team out there, that they were playing for Joe Judge, and they were playing hard, losing tough ball games. And Kyle Shanahan's getting the same kind of effort from every guy on his roster.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Dex.
Well, I done had a brownout, so go ahead, John.
Okay. Well, everything you just said, I agree. I mean, in other words, and I have no idea because I've been out here, but after the Pittsburgh game, I'm thinking that there was almost a feeling in Washington of giddiness, of almost like what you would have seen back during the halcyon days of Joe Gibbs, where it was like expectation is we can hardly wait to play so-and-so because we're going to win. I mean, in other words, that kind of confidence.
Yeah.
But this is where it becomes so critical. And I know that, and this is a good point that Rivera, I think, has stressed to his team, hey, guys, hold on. We haven't done anything yet. And they haven't. And that's reality. And he's, I think the word stressing was, humble. This team still needs to remain humble and hungry. And if they can do that, I think they've got a good shot. And then that's where you're going to know if the culture has started to shift at all. I don't think you can just say, just come out and say, oh, the culture's now, it's a whole new ball. I don't think you can do that. I think that's very premature, only because after 20 years and you've had some big-time coaches go through, you always come up with why did we buy into this?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm afraid of. If they lose this game on Sunday, I'm going to be angry with myself to starting to buy in. So I'm going to stay back and be a little bit more cautious, kind of like Chongo did all week. But Dex, you on the other hand, you're going to lay your ears back and you're going to go with it, right?
Absolutely. Well, it's both teams have an opportunity to make the playoffs if one of them wins. So I would think that the 49ers have 4 receivers out. I think the Redskins should take this opportunity, not the Washington football team. I feel that they're on the road and they need a win too. So I got to go with the burgundy gold.
All right, we kind of knew. We kind of knew where Dexter was headed with this because he did have them going 16-0. So he has not altered his pick, but he brings up good, strong reasoning. I like that.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a great football game Sunday.
Riggo?
I agree with that, Dexter. I agree with you as well. And I think, that's the whole idea. And that's the part, Vegas isn't buying into that theory. So there's something going on there. But I'm going to go with you, Dexter. I think that, this is a game that based on the team that they're playing, who's been decimated, if they can't beat San Francisco, you kind of got to go, all right, they're not who we thought they were. A lot riding on this game for Washington, and for that very reason, I think Rivera will have them ready to play. I think that they'll get along fine, and I think it'll be a great football game. And I, too, am going to take Washington. And you know what, guys? I think I got to go Pack. So what can I tell you? Eastbound and down, Riggo out.
Okay.